There are some whispers that spread so fast, it's like they've been waiting in the air for the right moment to explode in. This might be the loudest one yet, according to chatter making the rounds online and among certain crew insiders. Bambi has allegedly claimed she saw something backstage that no one was supposed to witness. The story goes that during a brief break in filming, she walked into an area behind the set and caught Mendeecees and Erica Mena in what she describes as a kiss that lasted long enough to leave no doubt. If that sounds like a spark for chaos, it's because it allegedly set off a chain reaction that even producers didn't see coming. The way it's being told, they immediately scrambled to keep things quiet, knowing the cameras weren't rolling at that exact second, but still fearing how fast word would spread once Bambi started talking. Some say she confronted them right there. Others claim she went straight to another cast member with the details. And by the end of the night, the rumor had already reached half the set. Now, social media is swirling with speculation. The fan base is divided, and everyone's wondering if this is true. What happens next? Bambi had been quiet for most of the day, which was strange in itself. On filming days, she was usually moving from group to group, cracking jokes, checking in with her friends, making her presence known. But according to people close to the set, this day was different. She had a certain look in her eyes, one that made the hair on the back of your neck stand up if you caught it. Some say it was because she had been avoiding a particular corner of the building where the makeup and wardrobe hallway led to a smaller, dimly lit lounge area meant for cast to relax in between scenes. It wasn't unusual for people to disappear back there. But Bambi hadn't set foot near it since that morning, and now the reason for that was starting to slip out, as the whispers go. Bambi had been heading toward that lounge for something as ordinary as grabbing a water bottle before the next round of filming. She pushed the door open, expecting to see maybe a couple of crew members, maybe a castmate on their phone. Instead, she says she stopped dead in her tracks, her eyes locking on Mendeecees and Erica Mena standing close to close for casual conversation. The way she's allegedly told it, there was no mistaking what she saw. The two were in mid-kais. Not the quick, friendly kind, but the kind that made her freeze in shock. For a few seconds, she didn't even move, just stood there watching, her mind scrambling to make sense of it. In those moments, Erica supposedly pulled back first, her hand brushing against Mendeecees' arm in a way that made it clear this wasn't an accident. Mendeecees, noticing Bambi in the doorway, reportedly stepped back but didn't rush to explain. According to the story, Erica's expression was unreadable, as if daring Bambi to say something. And that's when Bambi, feeling the adrenaline spike, turned without a word and left the room. What happened next is where the accounts start to vary. Some say Bambi went straight to a nearby dressing room where Sierra was getting ready and told her everything she'd just seen. Others say she kept it to herself until she found Kirk in the hallway and casually dropped the bomb like it was nothing. Either way, the reaction was immediate. Kirk, known for keeping his ear to the ground when it comes to set gossip, allegedly raised his eyebrows and muttered something about "this is going to be a problem." Sierra, on the other hand, is said to have widened her eyes and told Bambi she needed to say it to Erica's face. Meanwhile, word must have traveled faster than anyone expected, because within an hour, producers were suddenly hovering in small clusters, whispering into headsets, glancing toward the backstage area. It was clear they'd caught wind of what Bambi had seen, and their concern wasn't subtle. One crew member claimed they overheard a producer say, "This gets out, we're finished," which only fueled the speculation that whatever happened between Mendeecees and Erica is not meant to be public. Some people are claiming that Mendeecees himself was seen later that afternoon talking quietly with a producer, his hands gesturing like he was explaining something away. Erica, by contrast, apparently stayed out of sight for most of the afternoon, only reappearing when it was time for her to be on camera. When she did, her demeanor was calm, her smile effortless, almost too effortless, like someone who had already decided the story wouldn't stick. But not everyone was convinced it would stay quiet. Backstage, the tension was building. You could feel it in the way conversations dropped when certain people walked by. You could hear it in the scattered bursts of laughter that didn't sound lighthearted, more like nervous reactions to something everyone knew was about to blow. The cast had been through scandals before, but this one carried a different kind of weight. Mendeecees and Erica weren't exactly known for spending quiet time together off camera. And the fact that Bambi was the one making the claim added a layer of credibility that fans and fellow castmates wouldn't easily ignore. By the time the next group scene was being set up, the atmosphere had shifted entirely. Bambi walked onto the set with a look that was equal parts composed and dangerous, as though she knew she was sitting on information that could change the entire dynamic in the room. Erica arrived minutes later, her energy unreadable though. Her eyes swept the space like she was calculating her every move. Mendeecees came in last, his shoulders squared, his face betraying nothing. But even from across the room, the subtle avoidance between him and Bambi didn't go unnoticed. Kirk was leaning against the wall near Rashida, murmuring in her ear. She nodded slowly, her eyes following Erica as she took her seat. Sierra was fidgeting with her phone, glancing up every now and then to study Bambi's face. Spice had taken a seat at the far end of the table, clearly ready to watch whatever was about to unfold like it was primetime television. The cameras started rolling, but it was obvious that at least half the cast was more focused on the undercurrent running through the group than on whatever scene they were supposed to be filming. Bambi didn't speak on it right away. Played along with the conversation, laughing at the right moments, making light comments here and there. But every so often, her eyes would drift toward Erica, and then to Mendeecees, as if daring either one of them to start something. If the rumors are to be believed, producers were watching from the sidelines with the kind of nervous anticipation that only comes when they know something explosive might happen, but they're not sure if they want it on camera. And then, somewhere, between a joke from Kirk and a side comment from Spice, Bambi leaned forward just slightly, her voice cutting through the chatter without her even raising it. "Funny thing," she said, "you never really know what people are up to backstage until you see it for yourself." The words hung there, light enough to be brushed off, but heavy enough that both Erica and Mendeecees turned to look at her. Erica's smile didn't falter, but her eyes sharpened. Mendeecees leaned back in his chair, his jaw tightening just slightly. Spice raised her brows and glanced down the table like she was watching the first move in a game she'd been waiting for all night. Rashida's hand went to her drink, the tension settling in like a storm cloud about to break. Erica didn't answer right away, and that pause spoke louder than anything she could have said. The rest of the table seemed to lean in just a little. Not physically, but with their attention, as though waiting to see whether Bambi would push further. Bambi held her gaze steady, her lips curling into the faintest smile that somehow didn't feel friendly. Kirk shifted in his seat, glancing between them. And even Rashida's usual ability to diffuse the situation seemed to falter. "You got something you want to say?" Erica asked finally, her tone calm, but edged with that warning note that made people tread carefully. Bambi shrugged, as if she hadn't just dropped the kind of hint that could set the whole room ablaze. "Just making an observation. You know, sometimes you see things you wish you hadn't." Mendeecees sat forward now, his elbows on the table, his voice low but clear. "You've got something to say? Just say it. We're all here." That was the opening Bambi had been waiting for. She didn't raise her voice, but every word was deliberate. "All right then, I saw you too. Backstage, and it wasn't just talking." The reaction was instant. Spice let out a sharp laugh, covering her mouth as if to hide it. Sierra's head snapped toward Erica, eyes wide. Kirk muttered something under his breath, and Rashida's brows shot up. Erica didn't flinch, though. She just tilted her head slightly. As though Bambi's words didn't carry the weight everyone else seemed to think they did. "That's what you think you saw," Erica replied smoothly. Bambi leaned back, her tone cool. "Nah, that's what I saw. No thinking about it." Mendeecees shook his head, his eyes narrowing. So you're just gonna sit here and make up stories now? Stories. Bambi's laugh was quick and sharp. I don't need to make anything up. I walked in, saw you two kissing, and walked out. End of story. The table went still. Even the crew just beyond the cameras seemed frozen, waiting for what would come next. Mendeecees let out a short breath, half a laugh, half disbelief. That's not what happened. But you already know. That you just want a moment. Erica glanced at him then, her expression unreadable. You're handling this all wrong, she said quietly, but loud enough for Bambi and the others to hear. Others to hear. Handling what? He asked, though his tone made it sound like he already knew the answer. The fact that she's trying to twist what she saw into something else, Erica said, turning her attention back to Bambi. I know you don't. Like me, Bambi. But come on. Bambi didn't blink. This ain't about liking or not liking you. This is about what I saw with my own eyes. You can spin it however you want, but you can't erase it. Sierra finally spoke up, leaning toward Bambi. So you're saying it was clear? Like, no way to mistake it. Bambi nodded once, clear as day. That was when Spice couldn't resist jumping in, her voice carrying that amused edge she always had when someone else was in the hot seat. Well, damn, this just got real. The tension thickened again, but this time it was different. Erica leaned back in her chair, crossing her legs. Her face calm, but her eyes locked on Bambi, like she was deciding whether to let it slide or strike back. Mendeecees sat back too, his jaw tight, his hands clasped together in front of him. You know what's funny? Erica said after a long pause. It's how people will swear they saw something, but can't explain what came before it or after. Bambi didn't hesitate. Don't need the before or after when the middle says enough. Rashida looked between them, clearly debating whether to step in. Whatever happened back there? Maybe it's not something that needs to be unpacked here in front of everybody. But her attempt to calm things only made Spice chuckle again. Girl, please, it's already out here now. Might as well let it all spill. Mendeecees ran a hand over his face, clearly irritated. You really think if something like that happened, we'd be dumb enough to do it where anybody could walk? And Bambi's smirk was quick. Guess you were that day. The jab landed hard enough that Kirk's head dropped briefly, hiding a laugh he probably didn't mean to have. Erica's gaze sharpened, but her voice stayed level. Believe what? You want, but if you're going to start spreading that, just remember it says more about you than it does about me. Bambi leaned in slightly, her smile gone now. Nah, it says exactly what it needs to say about both of you. The quiet that followed wasn't peaceful. It was loaded, like everyone was just waiting for the next move. Erica and Bambi locked, eyes, neither one looking away, while Mendeecees leaned back in his chair, staring at the table like he was counting down the seconds until the scene was over. The camera stayed rolling, the crew stayed still. And the whole room seemed to know this wasn't ending tonight. Bambi stayed perfectly still after her last words. Her chin lifted just enough to show she wasn't backing down. The entire table had gone unnaturally quiet, like everyone was holding their breath and waiting to see what the next move would be. Spice was the first to break the silence, not with a laugh this time, but with that slow, knowing smirk that always meant she could smell a scandal from a mile away. She leaned back, crossed her arms, and looked from Bambi to Erica like she was watching a championship fight. So, you saw them? She asked, her voice just loud enough to make sure the cameras caught it. Bambi didn't even look her way. I saw what I saw. Erica's eyes narrowed. And you're sticking to that? Till the day I die. Bambi replied, her tone smooth but hard-edged, because there's no unseeing it. Mendeecees leaned forward now, elbows on the table, his voice slow and deliberate. Or maybe you think you saw something, but you don't know the whole picture. Bambi's gaze snapped to him. You keep saying that, like there's some magical explanation that's gonna make this go away. Maybe there is, Mendeecees said. His tone, even Spice's smirk, grew wider. This is about to get good. Rashida gave Spice a warning glance, but it was too late. The energy had already shifted again.
All right.
Kirk leaned back in his seat, quietly enjoying every second without actually getting involved. Sierra was studying Mendeecees, her lips pressed together, like she was trying to read his mind. Erica broke in, her voice sharper now. Let me just say this, Bambi. You've got a lot of nerve putting something like that out there when you have no idea what was actually going on. Bambi laughed under her breath. You think I can't tell the difference between a casual conversation and two people's mouths on each other? Mendeecees shook his head. Wow. So you're just gonna run with that? Run with it? Bambi shot back. I don't need to run with anything. I was there. I saw it. And if you two want to act like it didn't happen, that's on you. But don't sit here and try to gaslight me. Erica leaned forward slightly, her voice low and cold. Be careful. With that word? Why? Bambi's eyes glinted. Does it hit too close to home? The air tightened again. Spice bit her lip to keep from laughing, but she didn't look away. Kirk leaned toward Rashida and whispered something, making her elbow him in the ribs without taking her eyes off the scene. Mendeecees let out a short laugh, though it sounded more annoyed than amused. You know what's funny? I could say the same thing about you. You've been coming for people all season, looking for your moment, and now you think you found it. Bambi sat back, shaking her head slowly. Oh no, my moments find me. I don't go looking for them, they just happen when people like you slip up. Erica snorted softly, crossing her arms. You really think you're slick, don't you? No, Bambi replied. I just know the difference between truth and lies. And the truth is, y'all were back there doing something you wouldn't want filmed. A couple of people down the table made small, involuntary sounds, half gasp, half murmur, but no one interrupted. The producers, standing just out of frame, looked like they were holding their positions, waiting to see if someone would finally snap. Mendeecees' voice dropped even lower now, almost a growl. You're crossing a line, Kay? No, Bambi said firmly. I'm shining a light. Erica exhaled slowly, like she was controlling herself. You know, it's one thing to misunderstand a situation. It's another to deliberately twist it. Bambi leaned forward again, her voice steady. I'm not twisting anything. And the only thing that's getting twisted is your face right now, because you know I'm not lying. Spice couldn't help it. She let out a loud laugh, then covered her mouth. Sorry. I'm just saying, this is spicy. Sierra turned to her sharply. This isn't a joke. Spice held up her hands. I'm not saying it is, but y'all got to admit this is wild. Kirk finally spoke up, his voice carrying that fake casual tone he used when he wanted to stir things without looking like he was stirring. So, what happens now? Are we all supposed to just pretend we didn't hear that? Rashida gave him a look that said, please stop talking. Mendeecees pushed back from the table slightly, his body language still calm, but his jaw tight. What happens now is, we stop this nonsense before it gets bigger than it already has. Too late, Bambi said simply. Erica's smile returned, but it was thin, calculated. You're enjoying this way too much. Bambi didn't smile back. What I'm enjoying is not letting people get away with things they think they can hide. The tension stretched so tight it felt like something had to snap. Even the crew seemed frozen, eyes darting between the three of them. Spice's gaze moved back and forth like she was watching a tennis match, while Sierra kept shaking her head in disbelief. Finally, Mendeecees spoke again. You can tell whatever story you want, but just remember there's always another side. And when mine comes out, don't act surprised. Bambi's laugh was quiet but sharp. Can't wait to hear that fairy tale. Erica picked up her glass again, taking a slow sip without breaking eye contact. Just make sure you're ready for the receipts you're not expecting. Bambi tilted her head, amused. There's plenty to talk about. You just don't want to have the conversation. Erica's gaze shifted to Bambi, her voice steady but sharp. Because there's nothing to it. You think you walked in on something, but you didn't. Simple as that. No, Bambi shot back. Simple as this, you two were kissing. I saw it. No amount of denial is going to erase it. The quiet murmur from the rest of the table swelled just enough to make the producers lean in toward their monitors. Sierra's hand went to her mouth, like she couldn't decide whether to step in or stay silent. Kirk whispered something too, Rashida earning himself another one of her warning looks. Mendeecees leaned forward. His voice lower now, almost a growl. You need to stop before you cross a line you can't come back from. Bambi smiled faintly, her tone icy. I crossed it the second I walked in that room. Erica let out a slow breath, her fingers tapping against the stem of her glass. You're enjoying this too much, Bambi. It's not a good look. What's not a good look, Bambi countered, is thinking you can do whatever you want when you think nobody's watching. Spice couldn't resist. She's got a point there. Mendeecees turned to Spice, his patience clearly wearing thin. Stay out of it. Spice raised her brows. I'm staying in it. This is better than half the scenes we've shot all season. Sierra finally spoke, her voice cutting through. Look, all I'm saying is if Bambi says she saw it, I believe her. Period. Erica's eyes narrowed at Sierra. And that's supposed to mean what? That her word is gospel. It means I know she's not lying to stir up nothing, Sierra said firmly. She doesn't need to. Oh, she needs to, Mendeecees said, his voice rising slightly. She's been coming for people left and right this season. This is just her latest move. Bambi let out a short laugh, shaking her head. You can spin it however you want. It's not changing what happened. The energy shifted again this time sharper, more dangerous. You could feel the room leaning toward chaos, the kind that's impossible to put back in the box once it spills out. Erica took a sip from her drink, her eyes locked on Bambi over the rim of the glass. You think you've got me figured out, but you don't? Not even close. Bambi's smile widened. I don't need to figure you out. I already know enough. Standoff was so intense that the rest of the table seemed to fade away. Even Kirk had stopped making side comments. Rashida was sitting perfectly still, her eyes darting between the three of them like she was trying to figure out who was going to snap first. And then, out of nowhere, Mendeecees stood up. The sudden movement made a couple of people flinch. He didn't shout, didn't slam the table, he just looked down at Bambi, his voice low but loaded with weight. You're gonna regret this. Bambi tilted her chin up, unshaken. Not as much as you're gonna regret being caught. Gasps rippled quietly across the table. Spice actually covered her mouth, though the glint in her eyes said she was eating up every second of it. The producers didn't move to stop him from walking around the table, but their body language screamed readiness, like they were prepared to step in if someone made the wrong move. Mendeecees didn't go all the way to a Bambi. Instead, he stopped behind Erica, resting his hands on the back of her chair. You ready to let this play out? He asked her quietly. Erica glanced up at him, her lips curling into a faint smile. Always. The two of them exchanging that look. That moment of unity only made Bambi laugh. Y'all just told on yourselves without saying a word. Mendeecees shook his head, smirking slightly now, as if deciding to lean into the moment instead of fight it. Believe what you want, Bambi. You always do. And the fans will too, she replied instantly. The producers exchanged a quick glance there. It was the line that would make the promo cut. Fans will too. The internet would explode with that soundbite. Erica finally stood, adjusting her dress slowly like she was taking her time just to make a point. This conversation is over, she said. But her tone made it sound like a challenge instead of a retreat. Only because you know you can't win it. Bambi said under her breath, just loud enough for everyone to hear. Erica paused mid-step. but didn't turn around. Mendeecees moved with her, and together they walked toward the exit at the far end of the room. The cameras followed them until the door closed behind them. As soon as they were gone, the table erupted not in shouting, but in that low, buzzing chatter that comes when everyone suddenly feels free to say what they were holding in. Spice started replaying the moment. Sierra was muttering to herself. Kirk was grinning like he'd just watched a thriller. Rashida shook her head, saying quietly, "This is going to be everywhere by morning." And she wasn't wrong. Backstage crew members were already texting, phones were lighting up, and somewhere out there, the first blog post was probably already being written. And that's where things stand for no. Alleged backstage moment that's got the entire cast buzzing. Producers scrambling and fans already picking sides before anyone's even seen the footage. Bambi says she knows what she saw. Mendeecees and Erica both say it's being twisted. The rest of the cast, they're caught in the middle. Some staying quiet, some fanning the flames, and all of them knowing. This won't be the last time it comes up. Online, the debate is already out of control. Some are convinced this is proof of something bigger brewing behind the scenes, while others think it's just another example of rumors turning into reality TV gold. And then there are the people who believe the truth is somewhere in between that. Something happened, but no one will ever admit exactly what. So now it's over to you if you were there. Whose side would you be on? Do you believe Bambi saw exactly what she claims? Do you think Mendeecees and Erica are telling the truth when they deny it? Or is this just the kind of story that grows bigger every time it's told? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one of those moments where your opinion could change how the whole thing plays out. And if you want to stay locked in for every twist and every leak, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because if what we're hearing is true, the next chapter in this mess is going to be even wilder.